We're not locked down, we're locked in. In fact, we're hardly even that anymore. And depending on what county you live in, whether it's Cork or Louth, there's more latitude now than we've seen in a long while. Welcome to the show. It's the Lock-In episode 16 for the 17th of June 2020. My name's Conor Moynihan and the show is brought to you by Blacknight, the Irish web hosting company. Luckily, we've been busy since the crisis began because we're able to work remotely, and also because we provide technology that helps other Irish companies to do the same. So let's talk about Irish business and recovery. A few years ago, Blacknight joined Guaranteed Irish, and earlier this year we became sponsors of the Guaranteed Irish podcast. Today, I'm delighted to welcome to this show the host of that podcast and CEO of Guaranteed Irish, Brid O'Connell. Welcome to the Lock-In.
Thanks very much, Con. Delighted to be part of it.
Brid, these are strange and difficult times. We're in phase 2 of a reopening, but there's uncertainty about the future. Will we have to lock down again? Streets and roads are busy, but shops are working hard to enforce the social distancing measures. And then pubs, hotels and restaurants are kind of up in the air, and there's a lot of discussion about that. And they're weighing up whether or not they can offer a viable service under the current restrictions. It's business, Brid, but not as we know it. What's your take on the current situation, and what's the mood at the moment among Guaranteed Irish members?
Well, we have a real mixed bag, as you know, Con. So we recognise and support our members, which we have about 1,200 across the country now, businesses. And they are from multinationals to homegrown businesses and a real mix of large, medium and small businesses. So we're probably a microcosm of what's going out there. The general feedback from our members is that they're delighted to be back. Those that are back, and those that aren't back and working from home are actually managing quite well. A lot of them have risen to the challenge, a bit like yourselves and Blacknight. They had good, I suppose, background conditions laid down in terms of working remotely, and some of them had already done a little bit of it, but of course that's been stepped up considerably, and with the full amount of people working from home now, that's changed a lot. A lot of people feel there'll be a blend, as they say, when they come back. So a mix of real hybrid of working from home some days, going into the office other days. For those in retail are really working hard in the last week. They're just back, obviously, a few days now. And they've really welcomed their customers back. The customers are thrilled to be back. They're dying to get out of home and spend that money. So that's great. And it's about managing, I suppose, the flow of people. So there's a challenge in that. But I see the retailers that's really coming to the fore. They've been quite creative in managing that. And they're really eager to make that work. So those that will survive will thrive. I think there's a comeback definitely happening.
It's really all about cooperation, isn't it, Brid? I know that right from the start, the government in particular has been very keen to underline the message that we're all in this together, that we stay apart to stand together, and that we try and support each other. And it's almost a kind of a wartime spirit in a way, in terms of the kind of encouragement and messaging that's been going on. But in a way, that's part of the Guaranteed Irish ethos and a message that your organisation has been spreading for over 40 years. It's about supporting your local community. It's about what's the slogan again? All better together, or
all together better.
All together better. Yes,
absolutely. So that's been our strapline since our new invention, if you like, our new iteration in the last 4 years. So all together better couldn't be more apt. And I suppose the one thing we have seen is large companies helping smaller companies, and multinationals help Indigenous, and Indigenous helping multinationals indeed. So the likes of the example I often use is how O'Neill's went from creating sportswear into PPE production. Acme Blinds went from creating blinds for your kitchen and living room into making masks. And then you had Supervalu, who reached out across to the likes of original Irish hotel owners, over 60 family-run hotels across the country, length and breadth of the country, who were sometimes the main employer in a small community. And they reached across and said, guys, while you're down, let us help you and come and work for us in a short term. So an amazing spirit of camaraderie. And as I said, all together better has never been more apt. There is one fly in the ointment, though, Con, and we have to discuss it. If we are really to return to some form of normality, Department of Education has got to get its act together, and we have to start getting people back to school. So our small people have paid a big price. are really young people in the primary schools. They're missing their friends, they're missing structure, they're missing formulas. That needs to happen. Secondary school is at sea as well, exams up in the air. All that has to be taken into account. We need to get back into some sense of normality there. So while I would say a lot of the businesses and private sector have risen to the challenge, and the HSE and the public sector has certainly risen to the challenge, we certainly have a bit of work to do in education, and that has to happen if we want full complement of workforce out there. Remember, there's an awful lot of people out there who cannot go back to work and are stopping the return to work, the pace of the return to work. And that's going to affect our economy. It's going to affect our health service. It's going to affect our mental health service, definitely.
Yeah.
So we need to get a structure back where kids are going back to school, meeting their friends. And if that means throwing more money and getting smaller classes, which we really always needed, and it just never happened since the beginning of the state, let's look at that, because when a school is being done up, as we all know, everybody is moved into prefab, so it can be done. So is it a case we double up on prefabs and double up on teachers? But we certainly need to do something. We need to get the kids back to school. We need to get the teachers back to school. And the teaching community, I'm sure, and their unions will support that, because, we have to get back. We're under pressure now. September is not an option to be at home from school.
There's been a lot of commentary, Brid, on how the lockdown has forced us to look at our lifestyles, and some people are saying that they're enjoying the simplicity and the more time spent at home, more time spent with family. Working from home has actually, in many cases, it brings challenges, and those of us who do work from home know that. But it has been found that companies and individuals have adapted. I think you would agree quite well overall. But you were telling me earlier that companies are also looking at how they do business, and in particular that a vulnerability, I suppose, has been exposed by the crisis in relation to globalization and international long supply chains. And in particular, companies have found that when there was a shutdown and a lockdown early in the year in China, companies that were single sourced on some of their materials from there found that they were in trouble. They're now looking closer to home to do business.
Absolutely. And it's been interesting. Every time there's been a recession, and I'm only with Guaranteed Irish just coming up to 4 years now, but every time there's been a recession, people tend to, and it's a bit like when you get sick, you want to go home and be with those you love, and you run for comfort. And it's very much like that with recession with Guaranteed Irish. And I've seen that, and I've studied a little bit other countries who do the same. So every country has a company like Guaranteed Irish. It's Australian made in Australia, it's made in Italy. There's a whole number of them out there for different countries. And of course, each tries to support their own, which is the right thing to do. But there's a bigger piece here. All the countries really got caught this time when it came to sourcing PPE, when it was an emergency. We all waited in queues. The US included it to China, waiting for this production of PPE equipment, which wasn't always right and which wasn't always of a high quality. So we all got caught unaware, and I think that will never happen again. And I think it's really important it never happens again. And I think it's really important post-recession, which we are going to go into, and we predicted it in Guaranteed Irish last October when we knew this was happening and coming down the tracks. The reality is people need to have their fingers in many pies. So absolutely deal with our international friends, particularly our European partners. We are European after all. And secondly, we need to have some reliance on ourselves as well. It's not all or nothing. It's a blend. And it's to make sure, again, the altogether better piece. It's the mixing of both so that there's no over-dependency on one market, but we're certainly not caught unaware again as we were in the past. And remember, that was the reverse, the total reverse back in the 70s and 80s where we were totally dependent on ourselves. That's not the way to go either. We have to have the blend of both. And it's only the big and the small, the multinational and the homegrown indigenous working together that's going to make the difference. And we see that is happening now. So what I would really caution is for people to not just run home when things are tough. Keep remembering that you're from home and continue to support both, but don't forget it post-recession. And that's something that we see a regular trend in with Guaranteed Irish, and our colleagues across other waters across Europe would see the same. So it's something that we need to be conscious of. And of course, the conscious consumer then is the guy who's out there all the time saying, look, I want to support the guys at home. I want to support jobs in my local communities. I want to keep my community alive. I want to keep people wanting to live in my community because they have a job here. They're interested in staying here. And I want to do the right thing by our local economy and really with pride show off the provenance of this service or product. So for those conscious consumers, they love the supporting of guaranteed Irish businesses across the country, which is great.
It's one of the phrases that has come to the fore, I think, as well. And we've used it, in fact, in our own messaging and marketing in the last couple of months, of course, is the Irish proverb, which means people live in the shelter and the shade of each other's support. And you're right. It's true for companies as well, that we're only, in many ways, we depend on our suppliers and our business partners. And we saw it in Blacknight. Other companies saw it as well in the weeks leading up to the realisation that this crisis was coming. There was a reaching out, I think, to suppliers and partners and a seeking of reassurance. Are you ready for this? Are we going to need longer lead times? What are we working with here? It was very interesting to see that at work and to see how companies went about this in a business-like way. And it's a similar message, I think, community values being expressed in business here as well.
And it is, and it's interesting that you mentioned about going back to the simpler ways, Con, because we launched our theme for 2020 in early March, believe it or not, and our theme for this year was sustaining communities through enterprise. And if you can keep jobs in communities, those communities continue to thrive and flourish. And that's what we really need to be about. It means taking the pressure off Dublin. From my own experience, Con, I spent 3 hours every day travelling in and out to Dublin city centre to work, which was crazy, really, when I think about it now. So out of those 3 hours, you can get your walk in the morning. You can get way more work done for work. You're not as frazzled when you get to work. And it's a lot more cost effective, really, working from home. So I think there's going to be a massive change in terms of people's life and work-life balance and lifestyle, and the lifestyle they choose for themselves, I think will be a lot more interesting. I think the younger people at work, the guys who've just started work, the 20 to 30 age group, really missing the camaraderie in the office. And Guaranteed Irish in its new iteration, everybody's extremely young. It's all digital and PR and tech savvy. As you can see from our, I suppose, activity across the platforms, online platforms. So they're really missing the camaraderie. So they're dying to get back to work, which is great. I'm not in as much a rush to hit that traffic again, but I think there's going to be a change. And it's great to see all the cyclists out there, people out on the bikes, and the roads are safer. There's a big change, and I suppose it would be terribly foolish of us if we don't make use of those changes now that they've been presented to us. So we need to think about getting this right. We've one opportunity in our lifetime, I believe, for this to happen. It's been a most unusual situation, and we do want it over. We do want a vaccine. But I think there are some really positive pieces that have come out of it, and we need to maximise those. And there are opportunities for Ireland as well, because as trade wars rage between America and China, Ireland is plonk in the middle. We're in a good location, geographically speaking. We have the talent and the acumen for both entrepreneurialism and tech developments. We're very strong in the pharmaceutical sector. Don't underestimate Ireland. I think we're in a very, very strong position. And I think we have the ability, we're very fast adapters. That's what we are. And very good at innovating. So if we see an opportunity, we like to jump on it. And I think Ireland, if we play our cards very carefully and package ourselves very well, we could do okay out of this in a year's truth time. So we need to have really strong leaders. We need to get our people back to work in whatever shape that takes, that hybrid of work. And we need to capture the opportunities that are put in front of us now. And onward and upward.
Very good. Brid, as you rightly point out and wisely point out, there is a recession coming, but you have an optimistic note and I think an optimistic view, which is probably the only way to tackle business in any way, shape or form. Optimism is essential.
Absolutely. Well, if you don't have hope, Con, there's no point in getting up in the morning. So we need that. And apart from that, I think the Irish as a nation, we're a glass half full type of people. And as long as we act on it, there's no point in talking it. Let's walk the walk and make it happen. So there's a new government coming into play. there's new opportunities. And by the way, I'd have to say, I think our outgoing government did a fine job in getting us through it. Mm-hmm. I think they did an amazing job, and they worked relentlessly to protect us as a nation. So I think we have a lot to be grateful for. And it's putting it up to the guys coming in to keep it as good and better. But our opportunities need to go this way now. So we need to go up. The graph needs to lift. And I can tell you for a fact, the Guaranteed Irish businesses are made of the right stuff in terms of their commitment to jobs, community and provenance. So if we get more of that, I can see silver lining coming down the tracks a little later. We have a little bit to go through, a little bit worried about a second resurgence. There is opportunities for that to happen. And I think we need to not be complacent. The hand washing, the social distancing, it's tricky out there. So we're not home and dry yet. So I think we as a society have a lot of work to do in that space. And I know we're dying to meet people, and we're out meeting people again. And I'm enjoying it thoroughly myself. So we must be mindful of the implications if we go at this too quickly. So having said that, there are things that need to be done, and they need to be done fairly fast as well.
Well, we'd better get to work. Brid O'Connell, CEO of Guaranteed Irish, thanks very much indeed for joining us on the podcast. We're delighted to be involved as well as sponsors of the Guaranteed Irish podcast, Brid, and we wish you all the best of luck with that.
Thanks very much, Con. And I have to say, we're thrilled to have Blacknight as our sponsors. They've been fantastic as members all along, and as sponsors now, it's the icing on the cake. So many thanks to you, and continued success.
Thanks very much. That's our guest on the Lock-In podcast, episode 16 for today, Brid O'Connell of Guaranteed Irish. We'll be back again with another episode next week. You can find out all about the show, listen and view as well on YouTube past episodes of the show, and all the details as to how you can subscribe at the website at thelockin.ie. I'm also going to direct you to blacknight.blog today as well, because Blacknight has just announced a series of webinars aimed at helping businesses get back to work and use technology and things like that to actually help them to manage with the new normal, things such as e-commerce, online shops, upgrading websites, all of that. We're putting a series of 5 webinars available for free, and you can find out more on the website at blacknight.blog how you can subscribe for those, and they will be delivered over the course of the next 5 weeks. Good day and tacht and shachuin, mar sin, slán go fóill.